Welcome back. Today, we're talking about something a little different than our usual stuff. I know we are typically a gaming channel, but I really just want to cover things that are near and dear, important to me. And today, we're going to start with something that is probably the most important. We're going to be talking about my dog, Mochi. Aww. Now, when we got Mochi, he was the perfect baby boy. 8 pounds, 9 ounces. I mean, just the healthiest little dog. There was nothing wrong with him except for the fact that he had testicles. Yes, I don't know if you are just dropping in on planet Earth, but apparently testicles are a problem here. And we don't do those. No testicles on any dogs. None whatsoever. So he had the testicle problem, and we actually decided that we were going to get that fixed by having them removed. I'm not joking. That is an actual surgery that almost everyone does for their pet. Unless it's a female, then they do
something entirely more horrific.
Anyways, the issue that I have with this is that there's such a volume of these going on that many things can go wrong, and in Mochi's case, something actually went wrong. So we went from having the problem of testicles to the problem of now anytime that he gets any amount of excited, he checks himself to see if he peed a little bit. I'm not joking. This was not actually an issue before the surgery, so it was really strange that after the surgery, my dog would literally check himself whenever he got excited. And if you check the floor, from time to time, there'd be a couple driblets there. And this even happens right after he's gone outside. Like, he's been outside, we see him use the bathroom, and then he comes back inside, and he gets excited over something, and then he checks himself. And it definitely tells us that something is wrong with perhaps the prostate area, or blood flow isn't getting there. Besides the point. The point is we have no way of fixing it through corrective surgery or anything like that. There's no compensation for the issue that went wrong. In fact, when you sign the papers over to have your pet just completely mutilated, they make sure that they include a clause and you sign off on, do you want your pet resuscitated in the event that they die? Everything is essentially covered in their favor unless they do something just provably wrong. You have no case, and anything that goes wrong with your pet after the fact is now your problem. By the way, that's Mochi, my beautiful baby boy. Mochi, speak. Good boy. Speak. Good boy. Good boy, Mochi. So good. Anyways, Mochi is not the first animal to have this happen. In fact, it's happened to a large number of animals over a very extended period of time, pretty much ever since this was even a thing, which I don't know when the first surgery was. Let's put that on the screen somewhere. The first ever animal surgery to inhibit making babies. This is it. This is when it happened. Yeah, this isn't the first time that anything like that has happened. So here are some of the things that have happened recent enough that they became just engraved on the internet forever. One of the most common risks in pet surgery is anesthesia, especially in smaller clinics without advanced monitoring equipment. In 2021, advanced monitoring equipment, not in a facility in the big 2021. How does this happen? A Texas family brought their 3-year-old husky, Luna, for a routine spay. Hours later, they were told she'd gone into cardiac arrest during the procedure. Oh my God. I can't. 3 years old. So first of all, this is an older dog when it comes to these types of surgeries. Not old in any sense, but dogs are normally done within the first year when they would go through these types of surgeries. So the dog being 3 years old, to me, it would be easier. Things are larger. It's easier to see where they are. They're in their proper place. I don't know. I don't understand how this happens. A review suggested her weight and breed weren't properly factored into the anesthesia dosage, causing an overdose. Jesus. The American Veterinary Medical Association stresses that proper pre-surgery exams, including blood work and heart checks, are critical to determine the safe anesthesia levels. Luna's case highlighted a harsh reality. In busy clinics, pets sometimes get standard dosing without individual adjustments. So this is just complete neglect. I don't understand how something like this happens. It feels terrible for the dog, and there's just no way to like even make light of this situation. I want to do this in a way where we can make jokes from time to time, and I'm gonna be honest, it's just you can't make jokes about somebody's dog passing away. It's too fine a line to walk, and it's just not worth the risk. In 2018, a New Jersey family dropped off their male cat for a neuter. When they returned, staff admitted they had begun performing a spay. So I take that back. It's actually not too hard to make a joke. Homie's cat, his peen was so small and his nugs were so small, they didn't even see it in this situation, and that sucks. I'm gonna be honest, if the nuts are that small and the peen is that small that you start doing the wrong surgery, did the surgery even need to happen in the first place? Just a question. A surgery intended for females. Hopefully, if you needed to know that, now you know. After misidentifying the cat's sex, the error was caught mid-operation, but not before an unnecessary incision was made, requiring extended healing time. So, I feel less bad about making a joke there. Tiny peen on the cat, tiny nugs, but he lived, okay? They lived in this situation. I don't know why we started with the first one being a death. I think next time I'll do better and make sure that we're starting with something that is a little more lighthearted at the beginning. Cases like this often happen in high-volume or low-cost clinics, where quick turnarounds mean less thorough pre-surgical checks. What do you mean? You mean you have so many pets coming in, they're just cats coming down on a conveyor belt to convince me that this was the problem, that the volume of animals was so high that you didn't even check if it had a penis or a vagina before starting the surgery? That is actually just insane. Vets typically perform a final verification before anesthesia, but lapse in communication can lead to wrong procedures. Yeah. So we're not going to excuse this one, but interesting story nonetheless. Moving on to our next story, a 2020 Florida investigation found a low-cost spay-neuter clinic with dozens of complaints about pets developing severe infections after surgery. One owner reported her beagle, Daisy, returned home lethargic with pus around the incision. Oh. How does an infection happen that quickly? And how, if you can already see that the infection is occurring, how do you as a vet clinic send the pet home? They're just gonna have to turn around and bring it right back. Honestly, I feel like they're just trying to avoid taking responsibility in this situation. Like, actually, that was not there when they left, so you now need to pay for this as well. Within 48 hours, Daisy was in septic shock and needed emergency surgery costing thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. And I'm telling you, the way that they word these things when you turn your pet over to have this surgery done, they really are just absolving themselves of all possible issues that can come from the surgery. Like, yeah, your dog, your problem, your cat, skedaddle. Inspectors later discovered that the clinic's surgical instruments weren't being properly sterilized between procedures, and recovery areas weren't cleaned frequently enough. Infections can be deadly post-surgery, making strict hygiene and aftercare protocols absolutely vital. What is that thing when you're at barbershops and they just take the scissors and like throw it in a cup of Listerine? It's probably not Listerine, but it looks like Listerine. And they just take like clippers and stuff and they just dip them in there in between cutting hair. What were you doing? Just like gently rinsing it and you're like, okay, next. Our next story actually takes place in Australia. In 2019, an Australian couple's dog, Marley, underwent a spay but had to return for emergency surgery days later. Her abdominal incision reopened while she slept, exposing internal tissue. Oh, don't throw up. Don't throw up. I'm imagining it. Stop imagining it. Vets determined that the wrong type of suture, one designed for temporary closures, had been used internally. In this case, I don't think that piece of paper actually covers this situation. Like, if you can prove that the vet did something wrong, I believe that the papers are just like null and void. Like, the good thing about contracts is that as soon as something happens that is like illegal or the absolute proven fault of the vet or assistant or facility, whatever is going on, it seems like you are able to go after them and sue them. But what good is money when your pet is like wounded or infected, or in some of these cases passed away? I honestly think at that point it's a little too late to just be like, well, at least I got $30,000. I can go buy another one. Improper suture choice or rush stitching can often lead to wounds reopening. This not only causes pain and trauma, but also puts the pet at risk for life-threatening internal infections. I mean, there is that, but there's also the fact that once you can see tissues, in a lot of cases, things can start to fall out. That is disgusting. Our next story comes from 2016. High-volume, low-cost clinics are essential for controlling stray populations, but they can be prone to rushed work. An animal shelter in Georgia faced public outrage after adopters reported multiple pets dying within days of their spay-neuter surgeries. Come on. All right, Mochi's jumping in my lap. He heard these stories, and now he needs to be held. He was like, these are like absolute nightmares, not only for pet owners, for pets themselves. I honestly know that when he was a puppy, it wasn't our choice. We like found out they had done this after we got them, but they removed not his thumb, whatever it's called, the thingy, the dew claw, I think is a word for it. And yeah, it's weird because he would like lick them when he was a puppy where they were. And I don't know if he has like phantom pain or anything like that. I don't know. But these types of things are honestly a nightmare to the pets, probably more than the owners. Common factors include minimal monitoring during recovery, insufficient staff to patient ratios, and generic anesthesia protocols. You know it's bad when your animal shelter is mentioned in an article and it's like, by the way, we don't have a specific case. There's so many cases that we're just going to widely just sweep across and say that everything with your facility and shelter is just going completely wrong. Experts warn that in some mass spay-neuter events, pets can be intubated, operated on, and sent home within hours without proper observation. This can mean missed complications like internal bleeding, respiratory distress, or anesthesia-related heart issues. Oh, yeah. And honestly, I do want to bring this up as well. In a lot of these situations where things are going wrong, it's happening at a shelter or a clinic. And when you use those words, you have to understand that it's either funded by tax dollars, donors, or a combination of the two. These places don't really make money from adopting out pets. I think that some of them charge like maybe $50 to have the pet or neuter, like the spay or neuter happen. And that's just not enough to cover those costs. So they end up being funded again by taxpayers or donors, and the donors in a lot of cases love pets, want the best for pets, and they end up funding these places that are cutting corners, and a lot of that money just like can cause more pain than help in situations where the shelter or clinic is mismanaged. Obviously, that's not the majority of places, but it is a risk that you run. So I would say that if you are a fellow pet lover, make sure that you're kind of checking the place out, see their Yelp reviews, whatever is online, before you decide to make a donation to that place, because the money may actually be put to better use in a community neighboring yours where you could suggest people to take their animals. These cases are rare, like I said. Obviously, putting all of these in one video, it feels a bit overwhelming, and it's just like, oh my God, I don't ever want to get my pet neutered or spayed. But I do want to remind you that in a lot of cases, it is better to have that happen than to just create masses of animals when your pet goes missing for a day or two and comes back and turns out he's now a father of 5. It's way better to go through with these surgeries, but I would definitely encourage you to at least research a bit. Make sure that you're not cutting corners and just like, oh, it's only $50 here, so I'll go do it. If it's within your means to pay the full amount to have your pet spayed or neutered, I would definitely encourage you to do that. While they are rare, they are a harsh reminder. Always research your vet. Ask about anesthesia monitoring, post-op care, and sterilization protocols. Most vets are amazing and care deeply for animals, but when mistakes happen in surgery, the stakes couldn't be higher. Spay, neuter your pets, but make sure you're putting them in the safest hands possible. Thanks, guys, for watching. Again, this was a really different video than what we've done before, but I wanted to go that more traditional route with YouTube. Give it a try and see if you guys like it. If you liked it, like the video, leave a comment down below. Is your pet spayed or neutered? Did they also have something go wrong? Do they check themselves now when they get too excited like my dog does? Tell me down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!